Welcome to the Girl Stand Up podcast. This is Dom, and if you know me, you know me, and if you don't, you don't.
And this is JD, and I second that. Disclaimer, you guys, we are not professionals. We are strictly speaking from and sharing our experiences. If you are in need of professional help, please seek the appropriate counsel and guidance as well.
Welcome back, y'all.
Yes.
We are on episode three of them.
Period. This is
Okay,
this is a little mini, milestone, okay?
it is. We got tree videos, tree subscribers. We're working our way up. Working our way up.
I didn't know we were sharing that, but hey,
Hey,
no.
I'm all about
Start from the bottom. Now we here, or will be.
yes. I'm all about humble beginnings. I know we about to get into the word humble, but I'm all about it. Period. Y'all, please go check out our last two podcast episodes. Episode 1 is Standing on Business, where we just talk about standing on you in this new year.
And episode 2 is Girl Stand Up and Tighten Up. Okay, it's all about self-care and, focusing on you in this new year.
Yes. And today's episode is episode 3. Bit, don't be humble. Or whatever Kendrick said. Correct. Y'all, this episode is going to be quick, but we are dropping a lot of gems. So please stay tuned. Today's topic will be basically why the word humble is not the flex you think it is. Jordan, lead us off into this combo.
Yes, I got you. So I got the inspiration for this topic from one of my favorite artists, Durand Bernard. If you guys have not listened to Durand, please go. I'm putting you on right now.
Quickly.
Durand's voice, insane. Durand's stage presence, insane. Very much underrated, okay?
Yes.
However, Durand is also very active on Twitter, and I follow him on Twitter as well. So
Yeah.
he every now and then will focus on the word humble, and he's done it several times. I'm just now noticing. But we are going to focus on the tweet that he put out last year during Black History Month, February, which we're just going to use this to go ahead and set the tone because this will be our last episode for January.
Yes.
And the tweet starts off with a little recap from a radio interview he did where he was saying, "We don't do humble over here, we do grateful." And he quoted it and said, "I'm going down this hill of gratitude. Calling a Black person humble isn't a compliment, regardless of how you choose to interpret the word. The definition says it all, and I want better for us." Now, before I know y'all like to tussle, so before we get a little too triggered, I'm going to read off the definition, and I think you'll really understand where Durand was coming from. So the definition, according to the New Oxford American Dictionary,
Yes, sources.
the definition, the first one is having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. So that
Read again, sister. They didn't
having,
hear you the first time.
yes, one more time for the people in the back.
Okay.
The definition of humble is having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. I don't think I even realized that. First and foremost, I grew up with the idea that being humble is just so important. It's the best way to be. You want to, I don't know how to really explain it without using the actual word, but
It's almost like a buffer for like not allowing too much praise or not seeming I wouldn't say conceited though. That's the thing. Cuz I feel like Black people specifically are the only ones who feel obligated to use the word humble. Like my white colleagues, I've never heard any of them say, yeah, I'm just very humble. I'm very humble, very grateful. I've never heard that. But I have seen Black celebrities, I've had Black colleagues, leadership say, oh, I'm just so humbled. No, you deserve to be at the table just like the rest of them and us. We have
Period.
got to stop. We are actively operating in white supremacy when we belittle ourselves because it's good to the optics, right? It's good to the eye, especially around our white counterparts. Anyway, continue. That was my little rant.
No, I appreciate that because I honestly had hit a little stump. But I definitely agree. And, we are all about inclusivity on this podcast. So I do want to bring in other groups of people because I think there is an obsession with humbling certain groups, especially those who fall under marginalized groups or minorities over.
Yeah.
But we can definitely attest through our own experiences. There's definitely an obsession with humbling the Black woman for women in general, but definitely Black women.
Specifically Black women.
Yes. And
Yes.
it can be by our own people. It can be
Yep.
our peers, it can be by our partners or potential or, just anybody. And I'm realizing even though being humble was definitely seen as a value in my household, it can also have a negative effect because I've realized I'm the type of person that doesn't really like to brag on myself. Like, being fresh out of grad school, I've had to really hunker down about interviewing, and it's been so hard to get myself out of that to be able to discuss my accolades and my accomplishments to an employer without feeling like I'm gloating or, being cocky.
Yeah.
So,
And I will say, just to provide some perspective, I will say, even when it just comes to interviewing, especially when interviewing with a corporation or just really any big business, there's almost like, not like a tone of begging that you have to do, and maybe as a Black woman or maybe a woman of color or minority in general, whatever. It's almost like I have to prove myself, but now I have to be like, yeah, like I would, love this opportunity, to be able to just serve and give back. It's almost like our tone has to be this, we're doing it out of service when I feel like that is not the tone of our counterparts. And I'm speaking about this from one experience, seeing this literally transpire in real time, but also two, just how like to even be put in certain spaces, we have to belittle ourselves almost a little bit.
mhm.
And I hate that for us. And granted, if you think about it, it's really just a survival tactic, especially in these very non-inclusive environments. So don't be too hard on yourself, because like that is just something that we all have to do across the board, especially in this job market, which is trash, by the way.
It truly is something else.
Mm-hmm.
I always see those tweets or posts and it'll be like, why did it have to be my 20s that we experienced in this? We have been through some trying times. I'm not going to say the people who came
Yeah.
haven't, but this is so weird. We really had to find employment in the midst of a pandemic.
A
And
global
yes,
pandemic.
yes, we had to do so much virtually. And I think that
Mm.
I used to prefer virtual interactions over in person just because I have some social anxiety. But no, I'm definitely at the point of I'd rather in person because it's just very hard to portray yourself like virtually compared to in person. Like we really did have a disadvantage with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think the fact that socially a lot of us struggled as well. Well, not really necessarily struggled, but we didn't get the development that we needed in that early, 20s phase.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic was what? We were actively participating in the pandemic, until about late 2021, early 2022 when they lifted the ban. Really when they started lifting the mask ban, which I think was late 2021 into early 2022.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I feel like the world kind of like increasingly tried to get back to normal, even though things will just truly never be the same again. But like that was the beginning of like this new world in a sense. But I will say during the pandemic, we had to adapt to online learning, adapt to not being able to do certain things or things closing early. Like these are phenomenons that happen like once a century that we live through. And it's a little jarring to think about. Like the last pandemic like this was in the early 1900s, where they really shut shit down. Need your mind, this was back when they didn't have phones. So like now it's just like, whoa. And I think the fact that it happened, in 2020, which how old was I? I want to say I was 21 in 2020 because the pandemic was March of 2020. So I was 21 because I turned 22 later on that year.
I also was 21.
Mm-hmm. So that year was gone in the dumpster.
Literally, that was senior year for me. I mean, we did get to enjoy all of fall semester and
Yeah.
I guess the first like 2-ish months of spring semester, but that just was really hard. We didn't even get to say goodbye to most people. It's people I have not
No.
like that just was it. It so much came to an abrupt stop. And I also think that affected our social development too.
I agree. I think learning how to, well, one, I do think it did provide clarity on who's in your life. But
Mhm.
two, I think it just really stood the test of time between relationships, like whether that be like romantic relationships or friendships. I think the pandemic really showed people's true colors. That's the word. That's what I'm looking for. The pandemic really showed people's true colors. And I just feel as though like we are all now super hyper aware, super hyper self-aware, super hyper individualistic. So, and I think that is because of the driving force of the pandemic. Like you really just had to figure stuff out on your own. And it's not like there was just more opportunity, more room to isolate, to self-isolate,
Mm.
especially being in college. Like I think I moved back home, but then I had already signed my lease for the next school year. So I knew I was moving back out in like 6 months. But when I moved back out, I was in Athens and Athens was online, like fully online. And there
Mm.
were peers that I had that like I saw almost every week, every day. Some of them ended up moving back out of state. Some of them moved across seas. Like people's lives literally changed drastically. So again, this is a little off topic, but I think we should give ourselves grace, especially my zillennials, is that the word? My
I
little 96 to 99 babes. Much love. Cause we really had the brunt of things. Okay. Like we grew up seeing what life was like post college, in college, and we never got to experience that. We just went straight into the workforce.
Pretty much.
So,
Yeah.
and if we did, we only got 2 to 3 weeks of it, or 2 to 3 years of it.
Right. Yeah, it's been quite the roller coaster. I was about to say the adventure, but definitely a roller coaster for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that not that we shouldn't, okay, there's nothing wrong with the word itself, humble, I would say, but I don't think we should use that to describe ourselves. Because 9 times out of 10, when people say that they're humbled, the qualifications are out the water. Humbled where? You have 4 degrees, ma'am, and a business.
Oh,
Where's the humble?
yeah, I would say, okay. So you were saying there's no problem with the word humble. I honestly disagree with the like textbook definition.
Mm-hmm.
Word is actually terrible. But I think that, we like to change the definitions of words and we
Yeah.
put them the way we want to. Just like the word the word sassy. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Like you guys know how it's been a trend to call um
The men's.
problematic or like dramatic men sassy. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been sent the definition of sassy before, and I was just like, okay, and this is what we mean.
Who sent it?
One of my friends. I'm gonna keep y'all nameless for today.
I feel like I know who it is.
Actually, not that one.
Oh, wonderful. Because I too was a victim.
Yeah. The one you're talking about, I think, was also offended by the word. They shouldn't be offended like this is it's the way you act, it's the way you act. Um
Okay.
but for the word humble, I think we have decided it means somebody who, does great things but doesn't really expect a reward or acknowledgement. And that's
Yeah.
actually not the definition. Like, but the textbook definition, we should be the complete opposite. And that brings me to our first point of emphasis, in my opinion. We need to be our own biggest fan. That
Clap for yourselves.
right. Clap. Clap for the heavyweight champ, me.
Me. Come on, Nikki.
Yes, that
She
was
didn't say that shit for shits and giggles. Okay.
oh my gosh. But yeah, that concept is actually really so hard for a lot of people. And I am one of them. I'm always like the biggest fan for other people, but definitely not for myself. I guess I just assume that I don't need it. But yes, I do.
Yes. If you're not your biggest supporter, who will be?
Exactly.
Ask yourself that.
If you're not gonna do it, who gonna do it?
Okay. Come on. That's where self-love comes into play, but that's a whole nother thing. But okay, I actually really like that. Cheer for yourself, guys. There's nothing wrong with rooting for yourself, betting on yourself when no one else does, especially when no one else does. Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for you and no one else. Unless you have kids, then I'm sorry, sisters or friends. I'm sorry, friends. But if it's just you and if it's just your life, root for yourself and give yourself 110%. Y'all are out here giving 110% that people that don't even call you. You
Uh-oh.
can do the same for yourself. And that might pluck a few flat feathers. But I said what I said
And
and
did
did
it meant it.
and did.
That's so true though. Ooh.
Hello.
And that also will, take us into February and foreshadow because
Yes.
I have been one of those people who goes above and beyond for others and don't do the same for myself. And that will be changing this year. Again,
Yes.
as you mentioned, some feathers may be ruffled, but
It will.
it just is what it is. I strongly believe when it comes to you and you doing something for you, if people cannot understand that, like at the end of the day, like reflect,
Yeah.
really see why, then they're just not for you.
Yeah. There's a lack of something there from that friend. So, y'all, when you prioritize yourself, people will notice that. And again, don't do it in a selfish way. Do it in a healthy manner, meaningful way for yourself. But once you prioritize yourself, there's nothing that no one else can do. And that is where you get out of the validation of other people. But again, this is a topic for our next episode, well, our next series. But for now, we're going to transition into point 2.
So I know you said that it's going to be part of our next few episodes, but I do want to use what you just said as one of our points of emphasis. definitely prioritize yourself, you guys. And I was just watching a TikTok that was sent to me the other day where this lady was talking to her therapist, and her therapist basically called her out for, you know, not doing enough for herself, like just because.
Yeah.
And she literally asked her, like, what was the last thing you bought for yourself? And the
Mm.
like had an answer, but it was for an event, or it was for something for her and her kids, or something for her and her husband, or like
Mm.
a date or something. It wasn't just because she wanted it. And
Wow.
I've never thought about that. It's very rare that I buy things just because. I'm usually thinking ahead of, like, when can I wear this? When can I use this? And if I can't think of something, I'm probably not going to get it.
Yes. Now, with that, be financially sound and
Yes,
be financially aware of your situation. But there's nothing wrong with treating yourself every once in a while and not having a reason to do so. So keep that in mind, sisters. Um,
absolutely. And this goes for not just buying things, but recognizing yourself and your accomplishments.
yeah.
If you want to post that you just finished that degree, or that you are able to afford that trip, you accomplish a lifelong goal, post it. If there's
Yep.
haters, block them.
Okay. Quickly. Quickly. So, y'all catch on, get the memo. We headed to point three.
Quickly.
Heavy on the quickly. Say it again.
Quickly.
Yes. Quickly. Lead us into our final point, sister.
I don't have one. I'm not
Well,
gonna
that's it. Kidding. I'm
lie.
a regroup.
What another one would be. What's something
Um,
to go along with the humble
uh,
part?
let's see.
We can say there's an obsession with wondering what somebody brings to the table, and be like, you are the table.
Yeah.
You know?
Our final point. There's an obsession with bringing something to the table when a lot of us are not even the table itself. And I think we should flip that, right? We should be the tables. We should be setting the standards, the goals, not allowing people to tell us what we need to bring. No, because we too should be tables. And again, I feel like I can go heavily more into this when we get to our relationship series, but
Absolutely.
I'm tired. I have been asked that question twice in my dating life, and it grinds my gears every time because you're asking me, what do I bring to the table? What are you doing that's changing your life and changing your community?
Exactly. You have to know your worth. You have to know that you are the table, and this is with anything, relationships, jobs, um,
Correct.
whatever else you can think of. And if you don't know, then take a step back until you do. Don't jump into things prematurely, because
Right.
people notice that immediately,
Yep.
and they will jump on that, like they will target that insecurity.
Yeah. Every time.
Yes,
Because unfortunately, misery loves company and people harp on your insecurities to make themselves feel better and to pick themselves up. So I think when you stand on you, when you support you, then that standard that you have for yourself will be ever so instilled in you that it literally will transform you into the table, into the standard, or whatever you want to be. Because now you've placed yourself on that pedestal, not what anyone else has said, not what anyone else has told you to do, but it has come from within. So y'all, self-love is so important.
it really is.
Please.
It really is, because if it's not there, if you let other people, define that for you, they will come in and turn your life upside down.
Absolutely.
Some people really do thrive off of other people's weaknesses and shortcomings. It's very weird.
Extremely, actually. And if you do that and you're listening, you're a weirdo. Someone had to say it. Now there's still
Exactly.
hope for you,
Exactly.
but start today. Start yesterday,
Immediately.
actually.
If you can't bring yourself to start yesterday or today, we're giving you until February 1st.
Right. So you have 8 days. We recorded this on the 24th, not too much on when we post it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Valentine's Day is coming, you guys. Stand up.
Yeah. Quickly, but also stay tuned
For
for our
sure.
relationship series because
That's gonna be fun, you
it's gonna be
guys.
good.
And please, please, please reach out to us if you want to hear.
Yes.
We will cater to you. I promise.
It will. And send us your love dilemmas at girlstanduptodate, the number two, at gmail.com. We would love, love, love to hear some of the dilemmas that y'all have for us and also respond to it. Again, we are not licensed professionals, at least not in that way. Okay. We got degrees, but we do not have licenses.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay. But thank you for listening. This has been a great, great episode. A quick one, but a good one. And
Yeah.
please stay tuned for our February love series. And I'll pass it over to JD.
Yes, you guys, please stay tuned. And our info to contact us will be in our description. And with that being said, I'm going to close us out with a recap of our 3 points of emphasis. The first one is don't be so hard on yourself. You need to be your biggest fan because if you're not going to do it, who else going to do it? Okay? Give yourselves grace, but most importantly, be your biggest fan.
Yes.
The second one is to prioritize yourself and don't be afraid to treat yourself. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Sparingly, with financial responsibility, okay?
Yes.
And obligation. And last but not least, I just forgot it. What is it?
Be the table. Set your standards. Okay.
You are the table. You are what you bring. Okay? You
Okay.
are the total package. Don't forget.
Period. We will catch you on the flip. Peace out.
Well, bye, y'all.